My guest today is a seasoned executive, small business strategist, but most importantly, the author of the Bizix Way. He's spent 35 odd years helping leaders create energy, clarity, momentum in their organizations. He's the founder of Bizix and a Maxwell certified leadership coach, and he shows managers how to turn friction into fuel and build teams with staying power. A warm welcome to Leadership That Sells. This is the podcast that helps you to lead first and then sell more, because that's most sales teams. You have them today. The sales teams aren't really teams. They're what we call teams in parallel. And your managers are typically leading them like a football team, when in reality what they have is a team of Olympic sprinters or golfers. And this mismatch is a root of all your big problems. You're trying to coach people, but it doesn't land. Your pipeline reviews are like interrogations. Your A players are off going lone wolf in the background. So what we've done is we built a leadership power up for your managers. It's not another heavy training manual to learn. It's just a light, fast reset that gives them a really simple model to lead the team they've actually got. We teach them to set the target with absolute clarity, build a flag with a shared identity, and then hand over the map so that they can coach for autonomy. If you're ready to fix the model and not the people, grab our free parallel team playbook. It's short, sharp, and built for senior leaders just like you, and you can find that at the Practical Leadership Academy. Anyway, on with the show. Chip Higgins, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Paul, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to visit with you today.
Well, it's going to be fun. Bizix, you're connecting physics with business. The clue is in the amalgamated name, right?
That's right. That's right.
So yep. You talk about momentum, about energy, about friction, and you're melding these three things together for business success, okay? Now, I talk about sales teams here, and I know you've got a strong background in all parts of business. What would you say momentum means inside a sales team?
I mean, sales is the most critical part of any execution. So I think that globally, there's a big tie-in to the corporate momentum that has been expressed by the management team that we're going to establish this kind of presence in this segment at this level, whatever that market share is. But I especially know this, personally after starting Bizix and just how hard it is to get going, that, it's a daily challenge to keep moving forward toward that. And I think that the momentum idea has to be present with people about to move from 5% share to 10% share, from 10% bottom line to 20% bottom line. It's a daily battle that requires tremendous energy and flexibility, but always a commitment to the value proposition and what you're trying to change for people. And it's probably the most intense energy field that you're going to find in a business is the sales team, and they've got to be excited about the value that they're bringing to people and translate it in a way that makes sense and close the business and keep people for a long time. So for me, I've always considered the professional salesperson to be the most valuable person in the organization. And I think if you look at some of the classic multi-billion-dollar franchises now, it's one where people haven't been afraid to pay the top salesperson more than the CEO. That was true for a long time before we get into stock. It's just that's the kind of value it brings, and it requires day-to-day management and focus, which is a big part of what's in the Bizix Way with momentum.
So absolutely. I've had many grumpy sales leaders come to me and saying that this guy's earning more than I am. I think, well, yeah, it's because he's adding more value than you are. Oh, but I'm the big boss. I said, well, yes, you are the big boss, but this guy is actually doing, this girl is actually doing.
That's right. Yeah. I believe that 100%, Paul. I mean, I'm totally aligned with you there. I just, I think anybody that's been in business trying to build a brand understands how rare that skill set is of tremendous integrity, communication skill, commitment, perseverance, a way with people. I think listening, being able to listen, and then translate that into a value proposition for people. It's a very advanced skill set, and I think sometimes we try to dumb it down and just say our ratios say if you make 40 calls, you're going to get 5 sales, and let me take the phone to your head. It's just going to go. And that's, especially in today's age, I just don't think that is a realistic view of the world. It's a very complicated skill set in sales. And to your point, I think it requires a unique form of leadership as well. And I know I listened to a couple of your segments before this, and there was a part, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was kind of the mistake of the high performing sales person being put into the leadership role, and they're completely different. It's a completely different game, and leadership in that effort is so important for it to work. And there are a lot of tough calls. I think we always have those calls where we have to accept that the person isn't suited for it, or they're not excited about it, or whatever it is, and it's probably, to me, the premier impact part of any company, but it's also the hardest in dealing with underperforming people, the grace that we have with people about being on plan and making the corporate goals, but also the willingness to be tough and demanding about being high achievers. There's a lot of psychology in it. It's very different than closing a particular deal.
If you, Bizix, again, you get this amalgam business physics thing. If you think about your high school physics, right? So we talk about.
And by the way, Paul, that's the level I'm at. Is high school physics.
So glad that makes one of you.
I reached out for help in writing my book, but it's just a very simple equation to remember. So anyway, go back to high school physics.
So let's say very junior high school physics. So the basic thing that I think we talk about, and people talk about in business in general, especially in sales, is speed, is velocity. Okay, which are two different things, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you've got.
Well, they are. They're very different things.
Velocity is speed with direction, whereas speed is just going fast. Okay, so you might be going fast, but you're pedaling hard, but don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
Velocity is directed effort.
Yeah, if I could speak to that, because I think for maybe there are people that
there's a chapter in the book on that, I'm sure.
There is. So I want to say that just deconstructing the book very quickly. The fortunate thing about momentum and business momentum is, just one example of it is that the equation is very simple. It's mass times velocity. So it's not a multi, 8 variable equation. It's something that is very easy to understand and something that we observe every single day. I mean, we see momentum physically every day of our lives. So when you think about that equation, just very quickly, the velocity part, it is a direction, but it's also, it's a vector. So a vector requires a direction, a distance, and a speed or a time frame. So that is fundamental to achieving momentum in anything, is that you clearly define that. Underlying that is this idea of speed, the kind of time frame that's going to take you to get somewhere. And ultimately, that has everything to do with energy. It's the energy part. Sometimes when I speak, I have a picture of a Challenger launch, and it's a picture where half of the picture is the rocket, and half of it is the expended energy of getting it into the air, and it's a great visual. But I think before we even start talking about the velocity, we have to get into where the energy is coming from, how sustainable it is. Where you derive that from, and especially as a sales leader, how you distribute the energy you have to other people. And that's a very, very unique skill set, and being able to inspire people. But there's a very interesting thing in that equation that I like to bring to light. And this was kind of toward the end of the interview I had with my physicist friend as I was writing the book, is that just to bring home this energy point, is that speed and energy have a direct relationship, but it's a squared relationship. So for something to go twice as fast, you need 4 times the energy. If you want it to go 3 times as fast, you need 9 times the energy. Mm-hmm. And don't ever ask me to go to the board and do the calculus to show you why that is, but I know that it's true because of my physicist friend. So I think in all of this, especially in sales, we've got to focus on the energy level first, but make sure that we have that clearly defined for people about what market, what target type client that we're going after, how quickly we're going to gain share in that, and that we don't waste a lot of energy pursuing things that look like sales that don't even fit our business model. It's not even aligned to our value proposition. And to me, banking is not known as a high sales environment. It's a difficult sales environment because there's very low differentiation in it. It's money is money. But what I would find in banking that would frustrate me to no end is activity versus productivity, and how many people enjoyed the lifestyle of a salesperson. They enjoyed the relationships, and they would talk to anybody thinking that it was a valid sales call, and it wasn't really in the target. And what you come back with is marginal opportunities for the bank. And I'm sure this is true in any industry. It's like, well, that's not really our target client. Like, how much are they going to buy from us over 5 years? And is it going to move strategically? Does it line up with our strategic framework that it's going to move the needle on our share in this market to a point that we become a valuable company? So that vector, the distance, direction, and speed. When I talk to small business owners, that direction part is awfully hard for them to understand. I think that most of them are in a world of more. They want more top line. They think if they can figure out the top line, they'll sort through the bottom line through all the expenses and things. But inherently, you build a product to suit a market that's going to produce a margin. And if you end up in markets where that value proposition is not valued, and you're cutting price to make the sale or make your goal, it can have disastrous impact on the bottom line because you're not getting the margin that you want. So I'm a big believer in, there's a difference between simple and simplistic, and momentum is a very simple equation, but it's by no means simplistic. I think there's a lot tied into it, and so I feel like I'm rambling on a little bit, Paul. I kind of stopped, and I know we have limited time, but I thought I'd get a few ideas out there that we could chop up a little bit, and maybe part of this is resonating with you as we talk more about it, about your experiences with sales teams and the work that you do with your company.
Well, I mean, one of the things that does resonate is when you talk about momentum, it's mass times velocity. And velocity being the direction that you take people. It's not just going fast.
Mm-hmm.
Velocity is the vector. It's a
Right.
vector calculus. I don't want to go back there, thank you. But the speed with direction, it's displacement from where I am to where I want to get to.
Right.
But mass. Now, momentum is mass in motion. So we have the motion, we have the direction, but it's the mass part. I think I'd like to dig into that because
that's my favorite part. Honestly, it was the hardest one for me to unpack. So anyway, go ahead and ask your question about mass.
Well, it's hard to stop a slow moving bowling ball. Okay, high mass, low velocity, big, heavy thing, massive, not moving very fast. It's also hard to stop a fast moving bullet, little bitty thing going 10,000 feet per second.
I can't wait for you to get into my book, Paul. I think you're gonna really enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to this. I would tell you, you sent me an email and I only read it like this morning. I was thinking, he was going to send me a copy. Why didn't I get this?
I already sent you a copy, so I'm waiting for you.
Well,
this is really
this is good.
This was the most challenging part of the book for me.
Get in there.
I think it was in the end the fun part, because I start that chapter with a Monty Python and the Holy Grail, paradox, the oracle at the top of the mountain, where there's a riddle to be solved, and the riddle is, how can a small business be massive? How can a small business be massive? And in that chapter, I describe exactly what you said there. It could be high mass, low speed. It could be low mass, incredibly high speed. And that's my big hope for small business owners. They understand that they can have something with a specific mass, that they're very agile and they move quickly, and they can have an impact in a niche, and kind of explode it. But in that conversation with my friend Marcus, you'll find out in the book, I had a long interview with a friend of mine who's a Caltech physicist to talk about physics, the real physics, from a physicist. What he unpacked for me is the idea that, mass has almost nothing to do with size. I mean, it's a density. It's a density. And he went for, and so in the book, I talk about if you took a bowling ball and a volleyball, they're basically the same size, but they have completely different mass. I mean, it's a different, And so what we talk about in the book, and Marcus brought this out, is that in the physical world, if you looked at the periodic table of elements, and everything has a specific density, 98% of the mass of anything is in its nucleus. So it's all the configuration of protons and neutrons in that nucleus. And so where that took me in my reasoning mind about whether, I was challenged in writing the book about whether this would really work. Is this just going to end up being something that we say in business, but it's not really a useful model? I mean, it was a little bit risky to go down the path of writing the book. But, it just took me down this path of what's at the center of a business. If you took a business and said, what is the nucleus of a business? It would start with an owner or an ownership team. And it took me back to a time when I had great aspirations for my life and my career and pursued options and was told I was not a heavyweight. And it got me thinking about what's a heavyweight? What makes a person a heavyweight? And it's all about experience, character, your value system. There's a lot at the center of a person that makes us weighty in an environment like business or in our community or whatever it is. There's inner work to be done with any person or organization that make us weighty. And you could say it's even just leadership ability. And, coming from the John Maxwell team, there's a thing in the John Maxwell team about the law of the lid and, kind of the effort you put into leadership versus the leadership capability that you have. Your leadership capability is really the lid. It's like, how about, it's a geometric progression, when you figure out that leadership ability. So fundamentally, that is at the center of a business. And I'm firmly convinced of that. I mean, I've seen, over 35, 40 years in banking, lots of successes, lots of failures. And you can size it up. I think any investment banker, the management team is the first thing they're going to assess. It's like they have an attractive product or a segment they're interested in. They're going to vet out that management team. And you find, particularly in PE, private equity transactions, it's one of the first things they do is bring in weightier people into the middle of the business. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But there's also this extremely important thing, and I'm kind of obsessed now, Paul, with failure rates in business and why it is that so many fail in their first 5 years. And it's really the value proposition of what you're bringing. Is your offering truly distinctly different than anybody else's in the market? Are you the weightiest, most profound solution to the problem that somebody's going to find in the market? And that takes a lot of work. There are a lot of industries that seem kind of vanilla, plumbing, heating and air conditioning, all these things. And people jump into it thinking, well, there's plenty of market and I can take it. And they find out they're no different. And they're a technician. They really have no difference in their value proposition. It's absolutely extraordinary, the growth that you'll experience with that. And jokingly, I make fun of myself in the book about this, but when digital music was coming out back in the mid 2000s, I had some experience with Dell computers, and I saw that Dell had a digital device called the DJ, the Dell DJ. And I went out and I was so excited. I was like, man, Dell's a great brand. I bought 3 of them. I tripled down, not doubled down. I tripled down. I had one for me, one for my wife, one for my oldest, and we got it. And it was just one frustration after another. And finally, my wife is a big Apple fanatic, and she said, "Chip, you made a big mistake. I mean, I think this iPod is where we need to go." And I still have DJs around the house just to remind myself about doing my homework. But I think that's a classic example of like the weightiness of a value proposition that you're differentiated. And that too is at the center of the business. And what happened with the iPod is just extraordinary. I mean, I bet if I didn't bring the DJ up today, nobody would even know that Dell made a play in digital music. I mean, it was just, it was an okay kind of solution to get something to the market. So I want to take that and kind of flip into sales and just how important that is. That sales is also there's a lot of connective tissue with sales. I think that the responsibility of the executive management team is to provide a solution that people are excited about selling, going back to the energy. And I think when you find that the product is not that great, you end up in really bad sales environments of hot boxing. It's like selling merchant credit card services. It's like beyond you get an extra day afloat out of somebody, there's no difference. And it's just, it's a constant treadmill of get out there, give them the deal. Here's our deal. And, there's tremendous turnover in the sales ranks because they're not excited about what they're doing. They're not bringing a solution to somebody. So that to me is the mass. And I know I'm hitting you with a lot, Paul. I mean, I think I feel pretty confident if we get off of this and you start thinking about companies that are really successful, the mass, the density of management, of a value proposition, and even cultural things like the value system of a company, it makes sense very quickly that there is a mass component to business that's very differentiating in the way that you roll over competitors.
Okay.
But the thing I'll point out is like it has very little to do with size. And for me, that's the hope for a small business owner is that big things are not necessarily massive. And large companies have pockets that are not massive, that a unique solution can blow that up and make a really nice business for somebody that's not going to be $1 billion business, but it might be a $50 or $100 million business because your intention of bringing a solution to that market is better than anybody else's.
I like this. It feels right. But I think I have to push and ask you to dig on the concept that the mass of the company, because I do work with PE, I'm working in a VC-backed business right now. And yes, you're absolutely right. They go into businesses, they pull in somebody like me to come along and see if we can fix things. Or make
the sales team is the first, right?
yeah, absolutely. Executive leadership, sales teams, all that sort of stuff. And part of the due diligence is, of course, customer analysis, customer questioning. Do they actually have customers, people buying stuff? And increasingly, I'm thinking that that's probably where I would start. Because you go back to 1954, I love books that have been around for 50 years plus. I mean, one of my favorite books, book I give away, apart from the Gospel of Matthew, the book I give away most is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's been around since 1936. 1936 that came out, okay? Peter Drucker's The Practice of Management was out in 1954. And what he said, and it's still in print, was that the purpose of a business is to create a customer. So I would hypothesize, that your nucleus, the mass, the core of any business is its customers, and how well you can serve them, what you can do for them, create them and satisfy them.
Yeah. So let me. I told you I love great questions. So you've opened up another avenue I'd like to explore with you. So I think I agree with you. So there's two things. One is in the nucleus, to me, would be the intention of the work to serve people in a way that nobody else has served them. You're going to change their lives. And in the book, I talk a lot about Sarah Blakely at Spanx. I think that's a great example of her understanding like this image, self-esteem, dynamic with women was so powerful all over the world. It led her to this huge solution for people. Now, there's another thing I said at the beginning, that a discussion about mass, that 98% of the mass of anything is in the nucleus. There are extraordinary benefits to bonding. And one of the things I talk about in the book, and my friend Marcus talked about this, is that bonding bonding with, first of all, bonding employees to each other and to your mission, values, all of it is extremely important. But bonding with our clients is even, it's just as important. And if you take something like carbon, pencil lead and diamonds are basically the same matter. They're both carbon. The bonding in a diamond is just astronomically higher than what you find in pencil lead. So it's not a function necessarily of what's in the core, but the way things are bonded in it. And so the value proposition delivered by a sales team that connects people to the mission of the company and the product is equally important as what's in the middle to me. I was talking to a guy last weekend, and I haven't fact checked him on this, but I trust him. He was talking about the redwood forest in California and how sequoia redwoods are probably the tallest tree that we have. And yet the root base of that is only about 6 to 10 feet deep. And the reason they're so strong and they survive the way that they do is that it may be 6 feet deep, but it's about 80 feet wide, the circumference of their root ball. And it ends up interconnecting with all the other root balls. And so you end up with this tremendous connective power that makes something endure. And that's really what I have always been about. Banking is a very relational business. I mean, it's such a personal thing. Business dreams and the people that are in them, their families, their employees. And I always found that, the money was not enough. I mean, distributing money to people is not that difficult. It's really the bond that you have with them around the vision for themselves and their family that makes all the difference. And so I would always test client experience. My book is about linear momentum. It's about moving from A to B. I have another book in me that is really about angular momentum, and it's about the loops, the loops that we need in our business. That I joke. My kids were very young when all the PlayStation stuff came out, so I'm kind of fixated on this character Crash Bandicoot that was a big video game. But if you watch Crash Bandicoot, what was interesting is he moved forward, but he was always spinning. And so you have to look at what are the loops in your business? How do you connect and reconnect constantly with customers that enables you to stay close to them, but also to improve your value proposition constantly in the way that you're circling around with that, along with things like reinvestment. There are very circular things that have to happen in a business to have momentum. I live in a state that is part of Tornado Alley, and I was actually in a tornado in 1998. It hit the office building that I was working in, and that is probably one of the most powerful destructive forces you can find. And what you find in a tornado is that it is at once moving forward but spinning violently. And we have angular and linear momentum at the same time. We're pretty hard to stop. I think that's where the client connection, constantly reminding them of the emotional experience they had when they bought from us. It makes a huge difference, and it's also fun. Being with your customers is like the best part of the job. So,
best part of the thing. It totally is. Totally is. You talk service, and I'm all about service. I believe very firmly that we are put here to serve, and if anything goes wrong, the first thing you should try to do is to serve somebody else, because it'll make you feel better. And you will also put some positive energy into the world, which will bounce back at you. But one of the best ways we can serve our customers in most organizations is to improve the people that we have next to us who are joining us on the journey of service. How do we then reinvest, as you said? And I think that process of reinvestment is there for building the mass.
It's a mass builder. That's absolutely, and we forget that.
Increase the mass, and you've still got the velocity. Your momentum goes up, right? It's a multiplication.
And it's so intertwined with employee retention. I think when I joined in banking in 1984, I was lucky to get in a management training program with a good bank here in Nashville, and those programs don't exist anymore. And I think it's the fear of losing an investment in somebody And I remember quotes, but I can't remember where they came from. But there's that one of you have to invest in people and build a place where they want to stay. And when we give people experiences, when we teach them anything, when we show them how to be a more influential person in the culture, to be a significant part of the culture, that is what we're doing. We're building mass, just like I build mass in every way I've trained myself over the years. Things that I've wanted to learn, really hard things about things that were not great about myself, my personality, that I had to get rid of to become a better person. And I think that idea is very attractive to people on the hiring front in this day and age, is that someone has a sincere interest in making them a stronger, weightier person. It's way beyond what the hourly rate is or working from home. It's like an invested interest in me becoming a heavyweight. So it's all related. And, I'm a firm believer. I'd love, after you get the book, Paul, just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I mean, I've had really good response to it. And I really believe that there are hardly any new business ideas. I think AI now is kind of a new frontier that people are learning. But, I learned through John Maxwell, most of his books are quotes from other people, that he's put together, and he's got a great mind for presenting information. What I love about the Bizix Way is this simple formula is one that you can pack ideas from a lot of people in. And, whether it's building a culture, even employee onboarding, there are all kinds of, there are 2 chapters at the end that are financial chapters. Friction and leverage are primarily financial. They have other applications as well, but there are thought leaders that you can pack into this simple paradigm that we know governs everything that we look at. Why not your business? And if you can keep it to P equals MV, that's an easy one. It should be an easy one to remember. Energy and mass and velocity. What am I doing about it today?
Absolutely, I love it. I mean, you talk there. You had friction, you had inertia, you had all these different things as well. I mean, again, going back to the high school physics here, and I'm sure somebody will shout at me if I'm wrong, but it's Newton's, is it the first law of motion is inertia, right? It's right. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed, same direction, right, unless acted upon. And that's about momentum, isn't it? So you've got to overcome inertia of inaction with trying to get things.
I've got a chapter on inertia in the book. It's what I call my leadership chapter, because companies have to be agile, and developing a leadership culture from the top down enables you to identify things and either act on them in a positive way or to change direction. And I think the path of a business is not unlike a rocket, which is off course 98% of the time or something. It's like they're constantly readjusting. And that section I have on velocity, it's kind of like, well, I've written my business plan. I know my value proposition. I know this demographic that I'm after and how much I want to gain in what period of time. And it's like, the general that walks into battle with their battle plan, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. It's like the reality that the business environment is like dangerous. And there's so many forces out there of, economic trends, psychographic trends. I mean, employees, capital, I mean, all of it. And it's like the business owner is navigating that. And you can't have inertia. You can't stay on the same track if you want to survive. Like, you've got to be super agile about the way that you yourself lead into spaces where you can be successful.
Then I think you get to think is, how do you grow? How do you go faster? How do you get where you want to go? And then you're looking at, and it is the second law of motion, right? So it's force equals mass times acceleration.
Right.
So you've got the force of your training, your coaching, the new things that you're doing, the mass of the complexities of your team, the organization that you have, whether it's a difficult market or you've got a complicated product. And then the acceleration is the improvement of the sales you make. You want a great acceleration in sales. You need to either push harder, coach better, give them better resources, or reduce the mass. So make things simpler, take administration away.
Systems, right.
Systems. And you're looking at
there's less friction.
Yeah.
You need less energy, if there's less friction in the system. And I love all the books on, Kaizen and,
Yeah.
continuous improvement. And, quite frankly, I think that's a big leadership opportunity too, is identifying improvement areas. I think sometimes, especially in smaller businesses, I think the owners think they have all the answers. They built it, they know how it works. And sometimes they're surprised at small changes that can have big impact with people about, where the friction really lies in the system. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's an interesting read. I mean, it bothered me for a long time. This I would just hear so many people talking about momentum, Paul, and it started to just drive me crazy. And I was like, if this is a real thing, it's a very powerful business paradigm, and that just kind of led me to. I was like, I can't do this on my own. I've got to find a real physicist to help me with this. And I was very fortunate that my friend Marcus gave me a few hours of his time, and everything really clicked with me. I think if I had been only 5 or 10 years in business working, I don't think I would have had enough experience to see it in the things that he was saying. But 35 years in, and being an industry like banking, consolidating, people not having momentum, getting bought out, it all made tremendous sense to me. And it's an easy book to read. I mean, I'll say that it's 200 pages. It's full of stories that support these ideas. But
I'm looking forward to it.
I hope you enjoy it.
I will, I'm sure. There is, just on your point of 35 years there's something that I hark on at for people of ours and slightly older, a little bit older than me, generation, which is that you spend 20 plus years being paid for and rewarded and lauded for the things that you can do. And then you come to a point where you realize actually there are people who are significantly better and younger than me, earlier in their careers than me, who can do these things better. So where's my value? What do I bring to the table? Well, I bring what I can do with what I've learned how to do. You bring wisdom. You bring this idea of wisdom. And I was talking about this with my son, who is now soon to be 12, so the philosopher king that he is. And if you're listening to the podcast, I've used this before, so I apologize. I will use it again because it is so true. It is the things that you have, the experiences that you've had based on the knowledge that you've learned. So you learn things, you try them out.
Right.
People who learn things, there's not many people who actually learn anything. There are fewer people who then try these things out. There are fewer still who then reflect on the results of the things that they've tried out. And that, I said, knowledge plus experience plus reflection equaled wisdom. And my son said, no, Dad, no, it does not. Because, of course, he spends all of his days in classrooms with being taught things in school. And he says, that doesn't count. He says, that's you sitting on top of a mountaintop as the wise man, expecting people to come to you and listen to you. You have to be actively out there serving people and sharing that. So wisdom in the 12-year-old's mind is knowledge plus experience of the knowledge plus reflection on the experience that is shared.
Yeah.
That's
and
our job.
That's I think that's the hope. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 62 now. And,
don't look a day over 60.
But there is a friend of mine just had a LinkedIn article today about this silver entrepreneur boom. And I think with our longevity, we're living longer and we're more useful much later in life. There are great opportunities for entrepreneurs in their 50s and 60s. And a lot of it is based on experience, but, just seeing things differently and having a field of vision for seeing opportunities. And that's what I get excited about. I think anybody that has an idea within them needs to work really hard to bring it to fruition and see what kind of a difference it can make. So just keep at it would be my message.
Well, on the message then, if I could give you 10,000 billboards and the biggest Sharpie ever seen by humankind, what would be that one message you would share with everyone on the planet?
We're better together. I think that's a very powerful idea of this connection and this mass that we're talking about. It really comes down to how we connect, interact, and find each other's gifts and leverage them up for good things. So we're better together would be my billboard.
We're better together. Wonderful. And where can we find you, Chip, when we need you?
Yeah, definitely. My business website is Bizix.com, and I have a personal website for public speaking and just that type of thing. It's ChipHiggins.com, so those are easy to remember. My book is on Amazon. It's in Kindle, audio, and hardback, and I think it's $15 right now. So it's not a big investment. And you'll find in the book that there's a QR code in the book that takes you to a resource center. I've got a lot of planning resources that there are things you could find anywhere, but I think the book makes sense of why they're important. And I've got my own format. So there's SWOT analysis and competitive advantage exercise and things like that. So those are all included with the book. And I do want to mention one thing that I have that's just come out, which I feel like I'm about maybe 35 instead of 62. Is the excitement of technology. I have developed an agent for the book. So I have an AI agent. It's called Bizix On Demand, and it is amazing. And I've had so much great feedback on it. It just allows you to interact with the book in your own way for your own situation, the things that you're struggling with, whether it's sales or hiring or whatever it is. And I've had people engage with that agent for over an hour and get great feedback, great ideas. It's my book and a lot of other great business ideas. And you can find that on the website under Bizix On Demand. So I would take a look at that. There's a 7-day free trial out there right now if you just want to test it out. I think it's a lot more personal than ChatGPT because here I am, a real person, Paul. You know me, and I have a face and a voice, and it's not just your agent that you're wishing a good weekend to, and you'll never know who they were.
We will make sure that links to all of those resources, including the Bizix On Demand agent, is in the description and the articles that go with this episode. Then all that remains for me to say is, Chip Higgins, thank you very much indeed for coming on. And
thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the great questions, and wish you all the best in what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.